Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Pedro here. Hi, welcome if you're new. I'm just going to add a little thing to say in front of this video is that it's a really good video. It's me talking about my experiences getting into medical school, and it wasn't, you know, the typical route. And I'm going to leave the video for you guys to watch, but I'm just adding a little something here to say that I recorded this over last summer, and so I'm now a third year medical student, but in that video I've introduced myself as a second year, but that's just because I had some issues with which I had to sort out before I could actually publish this video. But now it's out, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'm going to keep it there. Take care. Peace out. What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Pedro if you're new, and my word do we have a lot to catch up on. The last video I made back in 2021 I believe, it's been a while and a lot has changed, and yeah, I'm now a second year medical student at Brighton Sussex Medical School studying in Brighton, and I am soon to become third year, hopefully if I pass my exams. I think it'll be fine, but I'll keep you updated. And yes, so the plan is, it's now summer and I'm doing a research internship at the university, but I'd like to bring you guys along with me because I think it'll be quite an interesting experience, and just to get you more of a sense of what it's like to be a medical student. And yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. I'll see you in a bit. Alrighty, I just thought I'd talk about what it was like trying to get in. Just so you guys can have a bit of an idea of what the application process was like for me. Here for medicine you have to apply relatively earlier than everyone else. So I think it was back in 2020, October 2020 was when I made my application to 4 medical schools. You can apply to five universities, but only 4 of them can be medical schools, and you need like a 5th backup option. It's like a different course or anything like, or something like that. And yeah, so I applied on October 15th, so it's quite early compared to all the other courses. All my friends at school were applying in January the next year, and I was like, ah. So there was quite a lot of waiting around. After that application, I then had to go and do the BMAT, so that's the Biomedical Admissions Test, I believe that's what it stands for. It's one of 2 exams that we call admission tests, so like entry exams almost. They're psychometric tests essentially, so it's like non-verbal reasoning, maths, there's a bit of science in there as well, and it's quite interesting, but I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff, so it came around to doing it, and I was preparing for a year prior to that exam, and it was quite a tough exam, I won't lie. It took a lot out of me, a lot of energy. I scored okay, I didn't, do massively well. My combined overall score was good on the BMAT exam, so I only did the BMAT. There's another one called the UCAT, and I only did one of them, and I wouldn't recommend that because you do put all your eggs in one basket, and only in retrospect that I realised that. And it depends on the university which one accepts which exam. And so I did that exam, I think it was November time, so only after I applied, so I don't really know what my score is, so I don't really have that knowledge of where I'm at to be able to apply, and then you just have to wait, right? So the universities will get your score, your BMAT or UCAT scores, and then they decide whether or not they give you an interview. So it's like a multi-step process, a lot of hurdles that you need to jump through just to get in, and it was quite tough because, especially for in this country, I found that if you want to get into medicine, you have to sort of start preparing. You need to know that you want to do medicine quite early on, so you need to choose the right A-levels, right? So you need to have the right GCSE grades in order to choose the right A-levels. So it starts quite early on, and especially for medicine, I think it's usually biology and chemistry that you need, and the third one you can do whatever you like. Apart from Oxford and Cambridge, I think they are okay with just chemistry. But the point is you have to start on quite early, and that's sort of, you build up the expectation, and then when it doesn't go right, it sort of hits you quite hard, and it's quite tough. Brighton get my BMAT score, and it wasn't high enough for the other 3 options I applied to. Only for Brighton did they offer me an interview following that, and I think the interview was in February or I think probably January or February time, but by this point I already had no's from the other 3, so I was like, come on Brightons, you're my last option, my last hope. And that meant that for the interview, when I actually went and did it, I was very, very nervous, like very on edge, because I don't know what's going to happen, right? I was sitting there, I didn't really sleep the night before the interview, I was very, very nervous, very, very tense, and it wasn't a very pleasant experience, just having to be there and being grilled about why I wanted to do medicine. Even though I've been preparing for that interview for quite a few months now, it's still the day that when you're on edge, when you're nervous, you're not really confident at that point. It just doesn't go well. And the same thing with the BMAT, right? So I was preparing for over a year before I actually sat the exam, and even though, and a lot of it comes down to how you feel on the day. A lot of this comes down to how you feel on the day, and no matter how much preparation you do. I guess what's the limiting factor is how confident and calm and level-headed you are on the day of the actual thing. And that's a really, really big factor. And I think for the interview, I scored 33 or 34 out of 50. And I needed 35 to get an offer, a conditional offer. And so I was very, very close to getting one, but unfortunately I didn't get the offer from BSMS. They put me on the waiting list. So another month in waiting, which just made the whole problem worse, because at this point I'm trying to do my A-levels as well and trying to get the grades that I need. So it really did take it out of me a little bit, but just have to keep going and pushing through. Brilliant, so I'm just going to change environment a little bit. I just got out of my lab induction. So quickly, back to where we were, talking about on results day. So by this point I've had, BSMS have said no, all the other universities have no. I've only got my backup option as an offer, which isn't really what I wanted to do, but I had to put something down, right? So on results day, so this is August now, so October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. That's a long time between applying and actually having the final word. So on results day, I have, by this point I'm preparing for the UCAT all over again, I'm preparing for the BMAT all over again, but I'm pushing through to the next cycle because I haven't got an offer for medicine, so I'm going to keep going and keep trying to push it for the next time round and preparing for a gap year and waiting for that. And on results day, I get my grades. They're enough to get into medicine at most unis, and I have this spreadsheet of all the medical schools in the UK, right? So I'm just calling them one by one, starting in alphabetical order, calling them one by one, calling their admissions office, seeing if they have a space. And majority, all of them said no. I finally get down to Brighton, so it's not too low on the list. I get to Brighton, and I call them up and they say, hey, I asked them, hey, I've got these grades, and they meet your requirements. Will you accept me? And I said, no, sorry, we don't do that. We don't do clearing. We try again next year. Essentially, that's what they said. So by this point, I'm like, okay, right, move on, next one. Let's go to C now, down the list and continue. And about 40 minutes later, and I pick up the phone, and it's Brighton. It's Brighton's admissions office saying, hey, we've got a place for you, would you take it? And at that point, my heart just went at 100 and something miles an hour, and it was just a crazy feeling, because after all this, finally managed to get in, like, at the last minute. I had accepted my offer, my fifth option, my backup option, and so I had to cancel that, and they asked me, yeah, so you accept us, but we see you've got an offer somewhere else. Sorry for the wind. And yeah, and I said, that's fine, we'll get rid of it. That was the quickest yes I've ever said. And they guided me through the process. So that was pretty much it, a summary of the story of me getting into med school, which I don't think is the classical route, but I think there are quite a few learning points that I like to get across, things that I learned the hard way. One of them being your grades they're important, but they're not the whole story. Because before this, I had a really strong opinion that if I get the grades, I'll get in, no matter what. And that is really not true, because medicine is very competitive, right? And everyone applying will have the grades, because if you don't have the grades, you just don't apply. So I had to learn that the hard way, and I realised that, hang on a second, what's going to separate me from the rest? And that's one of the big important things, and that really depends on the admissions policy for the university that you're applying to. For example, some of them put a really big weighting on your BMAT score or your UCAT score, so I guess it's up to you to sort of find out what the university wants from an applicant and sort of apply to your strengths. That brings me on to the second one. Don't apply to a university for prestige, for name, because it doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter. You at the end of it, you'll become a doctor, and it's more important that you apply to your strengths, just because of the nature of how competitive it is. Apply to where you have the best chances of getting in, and you can only do that if you research the admissions policy, which I think is quite an important thing to do. And I think the last learning point, I guess, is the fact that just because you don't get in the traditional route doesn't mean the doors are still closed. You can multiple ways of getting in, and from the weirdest ways you'll get in, and it's just crazy. So I guess the point I'm trying to get across is that if you really want it, go for it, and don't stop until you get it, because you can do it. and it's if I can do it, anyone can do it. Alright, so just make sure that you just keep, just like keep hammering it until you get it, because it does happen eventually. And if it's something that you really want to do, don't let the admissions process, which is just I'm not a fan of in this country, don't let that get in the way. And that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it for this day. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick sort of update video. I'm going to be vlogging for the rest of the week. I'm starting on my internship project soon, which is going to be good, but at the same time I need to get some time to rest and do some exercise. But I'm going to go to the library, this big building right there, you can see there, and it's going to be good. I need to do some more reading. But yes, that's it for today. I'm going to keep you guys updated and hope to see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.